As the EFF's battle with the ANC gets ever more vitriolic, it seems the economic freedom fighters are facing a number of internal squabbles too. EFF MP Mngxitama could be on the carpet for trying to hold a press conference before the State of the Nation address. And this morning, an open letter penned by the EFF's accountant accuses Mngxitama of stealing confidential party information and feeding it to the media. The party's Secretary General Godrich, Gardie, and EFF accountant Rirhandzu Baloyi, who penned the letter, join me now in studio. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us now. Mr. Baloyi, I read your letter, 5-page letter, but the essence of what you're saying, you feel used by Mngxitama. Tell us.
Definitely. Andile is a leader that I've been with for the past few years before we even joined the EFF. We've worked together at the SNI. I've worked hand in hand with him, admired his intellectual, ideological outputs and all those things. And now we are in the EFF. He is a leader who's an MP, was just recently in the War Council. And, he comes to me as a friend and as someone who cares about me and says, look, Baloyi, you are in trouble. We hear people talking, there's this, there's that. My man, come, let's talk. What's happening in the EFF? I'm like, I don't know anything. What's happening? We get invoices, we pay for things. It's a company. Every company does that. So from there...
So essentially the trouble that you're saying that you were given the impression that you were going to be charged for misappropriation of funds in the EFF.
Definitely. Not only myself, I was going to be charged with the leader of the party. Now, what they say, or what he did, he met with me and immediately took me to meet two other people who happens to be Kenyan Gayton as per the letter. What they did was to tell me that, Chief, you are an accountant. Whether you know or whether you didn't know, the fact that there are things happening in the EFF under your accounted steership or you looking at the whole thing, you are going to be charged and you'll be in trouble. Your commander is going to leave you in jail and all that. So they put in a whole lot of things to a point whereby they're saying, give us what you know, give us information, bank statements, this or this or that. As my senior party leader, as in someone that I know from way back, whom I trust, whom I think's got my best interest at heart and the party at heart, I eventually gave him information. In hindsight, I was a big fool. I shouldn't have done that because the information was not going to the police as they were saying. The information went to the media. I discover now that, yeah, that's what's happening.
But what will you say to people who say that you are complicit in all of this plot? I mean, you're only turning on them now because something has gone wrong between you and Mngxitama and Gayton McKenzie.
I wouldn't blame them. I wouldn't blame them. In fact, it would look like that. Look, when the whole thing started, this was a comrade whom I trusted and a comrade that I have worked with before. This was a leader of the movement. When it started, it came out as if I was going to be absolved, I was going to be what. But when they started taking the story to the media, I stopped participating or saying like, guys, what's going on here? You said the police are coming in and I'm going to be a witness or something like that. Why are you doing this? Because now fighters on the ground are worried. Where does the information come from? I had to come clean. So I had to go to the leadership and tell them, look, statements and some of these things came from me. This guy duped me into believing that these were police matters and all those things. But I'm not worried about that because it's with the police. I've gone to the police. I've got a case. It's being investigated. Everything will come. Right now, he just want to get away with it and discredit me.
I'll come to you shortly, Secretary General, but I want to ask one more question of you, Mr. Baloyi. I read your letter, and towards the end, basically, you are saying that, this is the quote now, I know that the information that I gave you would incriminate the organization to avoid jail for myself. You are admitting that the information, and this includes, you're talking about the statements for the Gauteng province of the organization and also statements for national accounts and also the credit card accounts. So you are saying it's incriminating, admitting that.
Let me clarify that. The information that would incriminate is the information that they already used. The GTI invoice, the fact that that car was bought for the company, it was not bought for another company. That has been clarified. When we were talking, they said, give us something. Is there something that we can nail the company on? And the only thing to be creative at that time that I could give to them was the invoice that showed that it was the EFF that bought the car, and then it was registered in another company. But that has been clarified because in that registration process, we had already given proxy to the company to do that legally by the company. But I was in a compromised situation that I had to close.
So your conscience is clear.
I sleep well after the whole story is
all right.
Now,
Secretary General Godrich, Gardie, you hear all of this. You get this information and understand that you've been getting this information for some time now. But, which one disturbs you more? That Mngxitama was allegedly, according to Mr. Baloyi, working to topple the leadership of the EFF, or that there's information that, according to his own words, is incriminating about the finances of the EFF?
Well, Thulasizwe, the issue here is it is unprecedented in any organization, company or otherwise, that the whole lot of bank statements of that organization can be in the hands of vicious ex-convicts who have got other motives other than anti-corruption motives. I think that is very scary, that all our invoices of the organization, all the bank statements of all the provincial legislatures that EFF has, the national parliament, the IEC's bank statements are with ex-convicts, facilitated proudly by a trusted member of the Economic Freedom Fighters, a member of parliament whom we looked upon so much to travel the journey together.
But does it disturb you what Mr. Baloyi is saying? He's your financial accountant. We must take his word very seriously. If he says, I know that some of that information is incriminating of the organization.
Well, he has clarified himself what he meant by incrimination, in particular about the GTI car, in that we registered it as a proxy. But I think that matter has been clarified with the registration authorities at the traffic department, because in NATIS, the National Transport Information System, could not accept our IEC registration number as a number to be used to register the car. That is what he calls incriminating.
You know, you talk about Gayton McKenzie and Kenny Gunene as, you know, ex-convicts, very dangerous ex-convicts. It's very hard to listen to you and not think about Babiki Babuile, who you continue to support as an organization and that your CIC continues to support. I know you've given an explanation, but the fact that the question keeps coming up clearly says it's not sufficient. I mean, he's been convicted.
Until such time that the judicial process has run its course, we in the EFF leadership and membership believe in his innocence. Like any other human being, he has got rights to conclude the judicial process, and accordingly, it can be correct that we should throw him into the den of wolves and distance ourselves from him, up until the highest court of the land says so.
One more question for you then. It seems the writing is on the wall. Is it over for Mngxitama in the EFF? I know you'll say that there's due processes to be followed, but do you see any other permutation that would allow Mngxitama to remain in the EFF and not be expelled, given how you feel about him?
The Economic Freedom Fighters is a legal persona. As the Secretary General, I'm the chief custodian of its records and assets. I represent it in all litigations. And in this regard, I will be writing a letter in my capacity as the Secretary General and accounting officer of the EFF to the National Disciplinary Committee requesting for due processes to be followed. It won't be a kangaroo court, but I am going to ask for immediate attention to the matter by the National Disciplinary Committee.
Just very quickly, if you're not worried about what's contained in the documents that Mr. Baloyi handed over to Mngxitama, why did your members try to stop him from speaking on Thursday, on Wednesday? And also, I mean, I can ask you this question, given that this had the endorsement of your Deputy President, Floyd Shivambu, who congratulated the members and said they defended the EFF.
I also do actually congratulate the members of the Economic Freedom Fighters for doing what they did. You cannot be rubbishing your own organization, wearing its own regalia, and going to places that the organization does not know about. Anyway, we did not send them as an organization. We didn't know what he was going to say there. We were not there. Most of us were still in our parliamentary village, bathing and preparing ourselves to go to the State of the Nation address. And we don't know what happened there. We also saw it, like all other people on TV, what the fighters did to defend their own organization.
Right, quick word, Mr. Baloyi. You were not dragged here by Godrich Gardie. Can you assure of this? Nope. To mimic and say exactly what the EFF wants you to say.
No, Mr. Gardie, the Commander-in-Chief, and nobody has not dragged me here. My conscience is clear. I want fighters to know what has been happening, because fighters are panicking. I'm very clear about everything.
That is Rirhandzu Baloyi, an accountant at the EFF, and also the Secretary General, Godrich Gardie. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Now, we did put a call through and send messages to try and get hold of Mngxitama, and so far we've not had any responses from him.